Whitney Metzler-Tucker, but she was Whitney Metzler back in 1996 when we had the Summer Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, and she made it all the way to the final 8 in the world. Yeah, the 400-meter individual medley. She competed in that, came in with a time of 4:46:20, which was incredible. She then went on to the University of Florida in Gainesville. She swam for the Florida Gators swimming and diving team in the NCAA. She was the outstanding freshman there. Later, an All-American for performance as a member of the Gators 4x200-yard freestyle team in 97. Finally injured herself, a shoulder injury, but graduated from the University of Florida and has since graduated from the Pace University School of Law in White Plains, New York. She's worked as an attorney for a number of years. She's now an attorney for the State House of Representatives here in Pennsylvania. She is Whitney Metzler-Tucker, and she joins us here this morning. Man, I tell you, just to read where you've been takes like the whole segment, Whitney. What are we doing here?
I know. Well, I mean, I'm still back in New York now. So
I know.
I took a few detours to get back here, but right. I'm back. So
I remember
about 8 years, I think.
I remember interviewing you I had a little TV show back then, and I remember coming down to your house and interviewing your mom. Actually, and I worked together when I was still teaching, and but I met you, and I remember thinking, this girl's got it going on. I mean, she understands what's happening back then. When you're getting ready to go to the Olympics. Tell us a little bit about, making it to the Olympics. I mean, what's the thought process? What's the feeling when you say, I've made the Olympic team here? What were you going through this time back in 1996?
So I was an idiot. I was 17 years old, thought I knew everything, but didn't know anything.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
Something like that.
It was just the next step, right? I had been on the national team. I'd been on the national junior team. I'd made Pan Ams, Pan Pacs. I'd made some other international competitions. So the next step was to make the Olympic team. And I actually made it with a 13-year-old teammate from North Baltimore Aquatic Club. So that's where we swam, was down in Baltimore. So for both of us, we got to go to another meet together. Looking back now, I realize it was a big deal. I think it took me until about, I was 35, 36, and my kids started asking me about it, that I realized it was really a big deal instead of, just the next step.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're members at the same golf club, and I'll say to people, I said, she was an Olympian? Really? Yeah. I said, but when you're doing stuff at that time, you said being an idiot. I don't think it's that at all, but I think you're so used to competing and working hard on a certain level that's normalcy. I mean, that's kind of okay. Yeah, mm-hmm. So I'm swimming, and there's some other people in the world swimming. Okay, good, that's great. But you kind of ignore those things. There's a fearlessness about being young that we don't have as we get older. Older we say, oh, geez, I'm not sure I can do that. But then you say, well, yeah, it's just another day, right?
Right. Well, there's a lot less pain with the amount of hours I swam when I was in my, teens and 20s than there was now. Even just going out and playing 9 holes with the kids, I'll feel it the next day. The shoulders hurt, the back hurts. But that didn't happen with swimming.
Talk to people about what it took for you in terms of training so they have some understanding about what you went through to get to the level where you did qualify for the Olympics. To you, it was, okay, it's another meet. It's another thing I'm going to. I'm competing. But, I mean, what kind of work did you have to put in on a regular basis? I don't think people have even an idea about the kind of schedule you had to keep and what you were having to do to train every day. Talk about some of the sacrifices and some of the things you had to do getting ready for the Olympics.
Absolutely. So I had, my normal day was to get up around 5:15 in the morning, and I would stay in Baltimore overnight. So as I said, that 13-year-old girl that made the Olympic team when I made it, well, I used to drive her to morning. So I would help her parents out by driving her to practice in the morning since she obviously didn't have a driver's license. And then we would have practice for about 2 hours in the morning, so from 5:30 to 7:30. And then I would get back in the car and drive back here and go to Dallastown. That's where I was in high school. And then I think I finished high school. They did give me an alternate schedule, so that was really helpful. I think I finished high school around 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I would then get back in the car and drive back to Baltimore, and we would have 2.5 hours of swim practice in the afternoon. And about 10,000 yards was our afternoon practice. And then we would do about an hour of what we called dry land. Anything that was not in the pool was called dry land. So whether we were running or lifting, or doing medicine ball exercises. We did about an hour of that after practice as well, and then eat a lot of calories and do some homework, go to sleep, and repeat it the next day.
Man, a normal
that
day.
was 6 days a week. Yeah. That
Now,
was 6 days a week. Sundays we actually did have just morning practice. We didn't have afternoon practice. So.
Wow. What a commitment. I mean, you think about that, and do you ever look back at that and say, geez, I'm sorry I did that, or do you have any feelings about it now as you look back at that time?
Not at all. I definitely don't regret it. It opened a lot of doors. I know a lot of people throughout the country. I would say it's made me a different parent, I think, than I would have been otherwise. And I don't regret that at all. Luckily, my husband was a motivated athlete as well. So when he just got home, within the last half an hour from driving back from Georgia, started having the two of our boys down in a golf tournament down there. So, and this weekend I had to split my time between two different golf tournaments for two other children that were still here in Pennsylvania. So,
and I saw one of them, Reed, played well. The York County Amateur, we were talking about that this morning, shot 76 the opening round. He had a little tough day the second round, I think 86, but he's still, he's young and getting a chance to play in some top tournaments. So, you said it made you different.
Well, he beat his brother's record, too.
Yeah.
I just got to throw that out there. He beat his brother's record. So 2 years in a row, we had our 14-year-old make the cut. So we're very happy with both of them. But I think there was a little extra motivation to make the cut on that first day for Reed.
You said it made you a different parent. In what way? More understanding? More motivated? I mean, how I'm interested in that.
I would say more strict. Also, no excuses. I don't take a lot of excuses. So, a lot of parents that I interact with, especially if their kids are elite athletes, think school is not as important. Oh, they'll get into college based on their golfing ability, or in my case, it would have been my swimming ability. And I think a teacher actually told my mom that at one point, and it's one of my mom's eyes still burn red about that, because school was just as important to them as it is to me as a parent. So we have really high standards for all the kids. All of them were either on honor roll or distinguished honor roll all last year, even during COVID. And so they know better than to tell me that they can get into college on golf alone.
Right.
Because that's, the likelihood that they'll make a career out of it, even if they're just caddying, that's the pursuit they have. And so I'm not saying even making the PGA, but if they do something, golf, management or something like that, you still have to be very smart, good business acumen, and have good grades. So
we're with Whitney Metzler-Tucker, who swam in the 1996 Olympics, was in the final 8. But just to get to the final 8 is incredible. And she swam, of course, in the 400-meter individual medley at the Atlanta Olympics. But, she has 5 kids right now, Lane, Reed, Mason, Bryn, and Blair. I think I'm saying them correctly. But Lane, Reed, and Mason, I think all drive it past me. I played golf with all 3 of them. And, nothing makes you feel better than having young kids who are less than 15 years of age blow it by you on a regular basis. But their kids are all so nice. I mean, her kids are all well-behaved, well-mannered. And then Bryn and Blair beat me up on the putting green when we practiced together. And we go up in the putting green. And the nicest, most wonderful kids. So hats off to you. And, these kids compete, and yet at the same time, someone's out there thinking, oh, she said, well, she doesn't suffer any excuses. Well, guess what? They're also in the pool. They're playing. They're smiling. They're having a great time. They're well-mannered. I mean, balance is something that you really seem to shoot for here with you and your husband, Darren. Am I correct on that, Whitney?
I would say we do. We don't force them to play golf. We tell them what time we're going to be leaving for the course. They're more than welcome to come. We have a training center we built in our backyard to deal with those rainy days that you were talking about earlier, rainy days and snow, since we live up here in the Northeast. And, it really is one of those, they have to work out a schedule to get out, so all 5 of them can get some time in the training center. So it's their sport. As I always say, I'm not going to live vicariously through you guys. I accomplished everything I wanted to with my, athletic career. So they have a good time, though. And I appreciate the well-mannered. That's what we're going for.
Oh, they are.
So, raising kids takes a few skills, and luckily I have a really great husband who helps me with them. So
yeah, he spends a lot of time with the kids. He's down the range and kind of gets them going out during the day, and they take the girls out. And I heard him saying one day, now you guys are really competitive. Remember, the girls aren't quite there yet, but they're working on it. But play 9 holes, be nice. And, I hear, like, it's really kind of neat to hear the interaction. And, of course, we're looking at this week now, coming into the Olympics. So what are these people going through right now? I mean, it's bad enough that it's great enough that you're going to the Olympics, and yet at the same time throw COVID into that mix. And now you have no fans there. I mean, can you imagine the Olympics without all this? What are your thoughts as we go into this Olympics this year, Whitney?
Well, this week, that wouldn't be all that different. You don't see your family for quite a bit of time. We got sequestered in Knoxville, Tennessee, for, I would say it was about 3 weeks before the Olympics. So we went into a training camp, and you kind of go into lockdown mode with just the Olympic team. So the other swimmers you're up on the team with, and then the coaches and all the support staff. So I did not see my parents. I'm trying to think how long that was. It was right after 4th of July that we left, and I think it was just a few days before August before I would have seen them again. Yeah. So, and there was a mix area that you could meet your parents at. That was outside of the village, outside of the, venues. I mean, I got to wave to them from the pool deck, so I saw them. But to actually, give them a hug or anything like that, no, it was 3.5, 4 weeks until I saw them, and I was 18 at the time, so probably was a good precursor to going away to college. But it was not that in that sense. It won't be different. Not seeing family, not seeing spectators, that won't be different. You're really kind of focused on what you spent the last 4 years training for. So I don't know how different that'll be. The getting tested for COVID on a daily basis, that would be different.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate to hear that we had one of our tennis players test positive.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously some concerns going on there. Hopefully the swim team, they spent a few weeks in Hawaii first before going over to Japan, and I know they're not in Tokyo right now. They're elsewhere.
Okay.
At a different training location. So, hopefully everyone stays healthy. You got the first week to get through, and then they'll be able to go out and see family and friends and either stay there or leave and come home. I would imagine that's when we start seeing some more cases in the village happen, when you're allowed to leave the village.
Right. I'm going to be anxious to watch the opening ceremony, obviously without fans, but what was it like for you, the opening ceremony? You're going out there, and all of a sudden you come to a realization, hey, guess what? This is the Olympics. I mean, all the other stuff, just another meet. And so there's got to be a moment there where you say, wow. And, of course, then you had to see people like Muhammad Ali standing up there holding the torch and all that kind of stuff. It's got to be amazing to you.
Gary, I didn't actually walk an opening ceremony.
Didn't you really?
Oddly enough. No, my event was the very first day of the Olympics. So they never told you couldn't do it. You had to make a choice. Like, you had to decide whether you wanted to or not. But I was there, to do well. And so I was not going to stay up till very late. It would have been about 3 o'clock in the morning till I would have gotten home. So it was never even a consideration.
Wow.
You just knew if you were on the first day or two of the Olympics that was not going to be what you did. I was going to stay to participate in closing ceremonies because that also is very exciting and, spectacular and lots of fireworks. But what most people don't remember is there was a bombing in Atlanta. Yeah. But what they don't know is that there were probably 10 to 15 bomb threats that were reported daily.
Right.
Which would shut down the athletes' transportation and close the village. So it honestly got to be a hassle just to be there in Atlanta. So I left and came home. I had to, pack to go to college. I think I left a week after I got home from the Olympics for college. I think I started August 19th or something like that.
Amazing. Whitney Metzler-Tucker. Can we tap on you a few times during the Olympics here and get your thoughts on what's going on?
Of course. You know where to find me, Gary.
I will find you. Don't worry. But, hey, Whitney, thanks so much for getting up early this morning. You probably are about your third or fourth cup of coffee by now just because you're not an early morning person now, even though you were then. But it's been great having you on this morning. Thanks so much for your insights. Really appreciate it, Whitney.
Thanks so much, Gary. I'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Whitney Metzler-Tucker here on WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton, a former Olympian. I think once you're a former Olympian, you're always an Olympian.